But among the CBP's missions and responsibilities, maritime security is not often front-page news. Nonetheless, this does not mean that it is not an important part of their overall border security efforts. Our coastal and maritime borders are long, and they cover millions of square miles. My home state of Michigan alone has over 3,000 miles of Great Lakes coastline and shares many, many miles of maritime border. We call it our long liquid border with Canada. Illicit drug and migrant flows remain principal concerns of our border security agencies, and rightly so. However, as we have seen on our nation's California coast, as we strengthen security along the southern land border, the cartels adapt, sending panga boats as far north now as San Francisco. From the Great Lakes to the coast of California to the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean, and Central American transit zones, the maritime security components of the Department of Homeland Security have a lot of sea to cover. And as a result, they must coordinate effectively, share intelligence to understand the threat, and smartly position resources to stop it. The need for maritime domain awareness, or the ability to understand where illicit traffic is most likely to occur, cannot be understated. Without this understanding, drugs will continue to transit the maritime corridors, and migrants will make the perilous journey to this country. Radar coverage of the Great Lakes and other areas along the border is far from complete, which could allow low-flying aircraft, it does actually allow, low-flying aircraft and vessels to move drugs and other contraband with ease. And within Customs and Border Protection, CBP's Office of Air and Marine has a fleet of over 280 marine vessels and more than 250 aircraft, making it essentially the largest civilian law enforcement air force in the world. They have enormous they have enormous responsibility to interdict drugs and migrants using the sea as a means to enter the country. So today we want to explore how CBP Air and Marine, a relatively small operational component of CBP, fits into the larger maritime security strategy of DHS, and how Air and Marine's authorities support and complement the Coast Guard's security and interdiction missions, Border Patrol's responsibilities, provide aviation support to other components like ICE and FEMA, and most importantly, examine the security value that American taxpayers are getting for the roughly $750 million that they spend every year. Without question, the work that the men and women of Air and Marine do is very dangerous. Last month, one of their helicopters was struck by 2 bullets fired from the Mexican side of the border. Thankfully, our agents were not harmed. And Air and Marine as well has had other serious incidents over the last few years, including the complete loss of a maritime variant of the Predator on a maritime mission off the coast of California. There was an incident where a smuggler fired multiple rounds from an AK-47 at our agents near the Virgin Islands, and then we had a recent collision with another vessel off the coast of California that resulted in the capsize of the vessel and loss of life. The vessels and aviation assets that our agents use to perform this dangerous work are aging. Recapitalization of the aging CBP Air and Marine fleet has long been a priority and a significant budgetary challenge as well for our nation. And for example, Air and Marine has experienced difficulty procuring a new coastal interceptor vessel to replace the Midnight Express, which is a boat that they first acquired long before the creation of the Department of Homeland Security. While I am pleased that CBP has awarded a contract to procure up to 52 coastal interceptor vessels just 2 weeks ago, this award does come after a series of delays and nearly 5 years from the time that CBP initially announced its intent to purchase new marine vessels to replace the aging fleet, which has been in service again since the 1980s. Better planning between the Office of Air and Marine and the Coast Guard has the potential to save taxpayers' dollars, especially when components conduct similar missions and have recently procured similar boats, fixed-wings aircraft, and helicopters. The Department needs to ensure components are working together to ensure efficiencies can be gained both operationally and with the procurement of additional assets. In addition, this subcommittee and committee has been on record multiple times calling for robust border security metrics that measure the state of border security, and they are largely absent in the border security debate, and a valuable tool to help CBP deploy resources appropriately or come to Congress with additional needs. Finding the right set of metrics to gauge performance is not an easy task, but it must be done. Air and Marine, as the Inspector General has recently reported, has struggled to develop clear, concrete performance metrics that will help congressional decision-makers and the American people understand how they contribute to border security at the air and maritime domain and at what costs. So we look forward certainly to hearing from Mr. Roth on the 2 controversial Inspector General reports that cast some doubt on the true cost of the UAV program and missed opportunities to save the taxpayers' dollars by leveraging existing DHS resources to upgrade air and marine helicopters. And I'm sure that the General has his own views on these reports as well. When it comes to outlining the future of this agency, I certainly understand that Air and Marine strategy is currently in its final stages of approval, but was not yet ready in time for this hearing. So I hope the General will be able to share key aspects of his new strategy with members to help us understand where he sees his organization going and present his vision for the future of CBP Air and Marine. And finally, last month, the House passed for the second time CBP authorization language that I actually authored. And this clearly demonstrates that this committee is keenly interested in the future of this organization and the maritime security value that it provides to the nation. So we look forward to hearing from our witnesses today. We want to thank you both for appearing here today as well. And with that, I would like to recognize the ranking member from the subcommittee, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Vela, for his statement.